And it was indeed here at the southwest tip of this great nation 100 years ago today that the Anzac legend was born. Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Bevan, and it's my great honour and privilege to be here in Albany to share this time of commemoration with you all on this beautiful day as we remember and pay respect to the Australian and New Zealand troops who left this place on the 1st of November 1914 to defend the British Empire and, though they didn't know it, to help forge a nation's identity. Well, joining me today from the Australian War Memorial in Canberra is war historian Michael Kelly and Maori war documentary maker Tanui Stevens. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Welcome to Albany.
Tēnā koe, Scott. Kauruatahi ko Michael. Kia ora, Australia. Tēnā koutou Aotearoa me te wai pounamu. This really is a significant and, I guess, an emotional day because in time, over 400,000 Australians and 120,000 New Zealanders would enlist to serve in what became known as the Great War. 150,000 Aussies and 41,000 Kiwis were either wounded or taken prisoner, and in total, over 80,000 of these brothers-in-arms would perish, mostly at Gallipoli or the Western Front. One of the farewells offered the Māori soldiers before they left home was "Haere me te whakaaro ki te pupuri te rongo toa o tātou tūpuna. Go and hold fast to the warrior fame of your forebears." Now, we understand there was a sense of adventure afoot here. Many soldiers of many cultures, though, went to war because their fathers or grandfathers once did the same thing. It wasn't just national pride, but family pride too was often at stake.
And grandsons, granddaughters, descendants are now lining the streets here in the heart of Albany to remember and to commemorate. Michael Kelly, how are you feeling about being here on this momentous day, historic day?
Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Tony. It's an amazing day to be here in Albany, and it's a wonderful thing to see the people of Albany and as many people from Australia as could make it over here turning out to witness today's events.
And indeed, along York Street, this march brings together servicemen and women from all over the country. There are representatives of the Royal Western Australian Regiment. There are troops from Tainui's homeland, from New Zealand, drawn from New Zealand's Army Reserve units. The Royal Australian Navy is represented by platoons, and they're certainly represented out in King George Sound with the warships out there. And the Air Force is here as well today with a contingent of servicemen and women based at the RAAF base Pearce, just outside Perth. And they will be making their own contribution shortly in the skies above as well. The sum of all of these people here is to help us understand the enthusiasm, I guess, and the anticipation shared by the troops who left this place 100 years ago today as they embarked on a mission that many believed, Tanui, would be over by Christmas.
Well, I think there is a sense of excitement here in Albany today, but with the hindsight of history, it's perhaps more muted than it was 100 years ago. Back then, there was a giddy mood of celebration in the air when hostilities were declared. Now, that's hard to believe these days, but in an era where there was no TV or social media, the promise of high adventure was intoxicating.
Here's the fly past now as the PC-9 aircraft from the Pearce RAAF base fly overhead. Now, these aircraft are operated by number 2 flying training school at RAAF Pearce. And they're a training aircraft, but Michael, they're more than training. They're mighty good at aerobatics as well.
They most definitely are. These aircraft perform quite a number of aerobatic performances around Australia every year.
These are the planes in the roulettes, is that right?
Yes, they are. They perform acrobatic manoeuvres.
Well, the splash of red and white there coursing across that flawless blue of King George Sound. What a sight. And here we are back on dry ground here as the march makes its way up York Street, through the heart of Albany here, just as the troops marched 100 years ago here. Now, the view from Mount Clarence over King George Sound, we can see some of those ships there now at anchor, awaiting a time later today when they'll symbolically sail south and then west, representing the transport ships and naval vessels that departed Albany as the first convoy set sail for that long voyage to Egypt just before 6 a.m. on a Sunday 100 years ago. By 10 a.m. on that day, the last ship had disappeared from view around Bald Head to the south of Albany over the horizon. In 1914, this natural harbour bordered by the mainland to the north and Vancouver Peninsula to the west was the meeting point for some of the largest and some of the finest commercial ships that could be garnered from all around the country. There were 36 troop ships in all, Michael?
36 transport vessels were gathered here between October the 24th and the 28th of 1914.